I was 2 centimeters dilated. This was like 6 o'clock, I'm pretty sure. And so I had told them like, okay, last time once labor had started, like it went really fast for me, like whatever. And they kept assuring me like, it's usually like 1 centimeter an hour. Like you've got a long time, like don't stress. I'm like, okay. And so obviously I was just relaxing in my room and then it like started to get really intense. So I was like, and I remember from last time I was like, I'm asking for the epidural way earlier. Like I'm not gonna miss out this time. So I think I had only been there like an hour and I was like, all right, I need the epidural. So then they came and got me and they took me down to this room. Again, I have pictures. So it was like they wheeled me down. It was like sterile. It's like a surgery room, like sterile, big lights, like whatever. Everyone's in scrubs, everything. So I'm like, okay, I knew now this was like normal, I guess. And anyway, so they gave me the epidural. This was at like 7:15 or something at night, and I knew Dylan would put Amaya down around 8-ish. The guy from the club was coming to our house at like 8, so then Dylan could leave and come to the hospital. So they gave me the epidural. I think it was like 7:15 or something. Anyway, so it worked. Like everything was great. So I was like, perfect. So I was just laying down, relaxing, but I didn't have my phone, and my phone only worked if there was Wi-Fi. Because I didn't like my SIM card or something was still a different country. I don't know. It just wasn't working. So I kept telling them, like, the girl that spoke English, can you go up to my room and get my phone? Because when they took me to take the epidural, I, for some reason, thought I would go back up there, but I didn't. So I was like, I need my phone, like, to tell Dylan, like, whatever. So she went up and got my phone and brought it back down, but I was, like, just chilling. It was really nice. And then must have been, like, 7:45. Obviously, they have all the monitors on so you can hear everything, and all of a sudden Chance's heartbeat stopped. Like it just went like flat line, like you could just hear the line. And so you can see like there was a few people in the room, and so you see people like start looking around, no one speaking English. And so I'm like looking around. So then the new midwife, like first time, poor thing, she comes over. So she starts like, okay, like take deep breaths, like turn to the side a little bit. Like she was trying to move me around to see like what was happening. And it must have been a few minutes had passed and he was still like no heartbeat. And so I start freaking out then, I'm just like doing this, like just cut me open, like get the baby out. Like, what are you doing? Like just get the baby out. And so she after this experience, she probably worked on it, but her face like looked pale. She ran out the room. So I'm like, perfect. Like that's a great sign, right? So then the head midwife runs in. They're all speaking Spanish, like yelling at each other, speaking Spanish. Like they were like literally moving my body, like trying to like find his heartbeat. Anyway, it was like 10 minutes had passed and I was screaming, just cut me open, like screaming. Anyway, someone came, whoever else, another doctor that was on call, wasn't my doctor, but had come in and said something in Spanish, like, have you checked where the baby is? Like, whatever. Yeah. And so I don't know why this wasn't done first, but they checked and he had like started to come out already, like on his own. So that's why his heartbeat wasn't like registering, because his heart had moved so low. Right. So his heart hadn't stopped. He had just like moved out so fast. And because they had the epidural, I couldn't feel anything. So his head was like, they made me touch. Like I could touch his head like without me even like pushing anything. And so I'm like traumatized. Like my body is shaking. Like I can't even talk because I thought like he had just died, like that, you know, he was gone. And so they're like, okay, this was like 7:50 or something. And so they're like, you need to call your husband. You're going to have the baby, like as soon as the doctor gets here, because my actual doctor was still in an appointment downtown because he wasn't planning on coming to the hospital. He thought I was going to be in labor for like hours. Yeah. So they're on the phone to him, telling him like what's going on. I'm like trying to talk to Dylan, but like nothing, I just was shaking, like nothing was even coming out. He's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I was trying to tell the story, but I couldn't tell the story. I was like, just get here. Like, he's coming out, like whatever. So he's like, shit. Like, so he puts Amaya to bed, like poor thing, probably grabbed her out of the bath, like put her into bed. And thank God she was like, still is such a good sleeper. He literally like threw her in the crib, closed the door. The guy from the club came, and Dylan, like we lived like 10 minutes, I think, from the hospital. but he got there so fast. So him and the doctor I could hear in the hallway. So by this point, they had moved me to like the delivery bed, and they pretty much the whole time were like doing this with my legs. They're like, don't keep your legs closed and don't breathe too deeply because like your son will come out if you take a deep breath. Like he's gonna come out. So I was like, oh my God. So then they got me up with my legs like on the stirrups things, and I could hear Dylan. Like if you know Dylan, he's super loud, so I could hear him coming in the hallway, and the doctor. They were like, him and Dylan joked all the time. So they were both like laughing, joking. And I'm like on the bed, like so traumatized. I thought I just lost my son. So then they come in, the nurses have the doctor's like scrub. So he puts his things on. Dylan comes over and like holds my hand. And I literally like didn't even barely push.
Yeah.
And then his head was pretty much out. So then the doctor was like, okay, do you want to grab him out? I was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't want to hurt him. So that he's like, no, just grab him under the shoulder. So I pushed a little bit, and it was so nice because I had so much time to like take it in. So I remember I like grabbed him, like the doctor was helping, but I pretty much pulled Chance out like with my hands and then put him on my chest, and the doctor was like obviously there. But it was so cool. Like it was like after I recovered from being traumatized, it was like, yeah, it was really cool experience. So then Dylan literally made it within like a minute before it all happened. And then, yeah, like everything again went really smoothly. Like I didn't tear at all. There was no complications. Chance was completely fine. So he was 39 weeks, but still pretty small. He was like 6 pounds, like 3, I think, or 4. So small baby again. But yeah, so it was like super easy. And then they did a few checks or like took his weight and stuff, and then we went back up to our room. And then Dylan stayed with us for a few hours, but then he had to go back because Amaya was like at home still. So it was just Chance and I then.